Hi everyone, welcome to eLearnChat, where you always learn something new. And today we've got with us Chris Van Wingerden from DominKnow, and he's a fellow podcaster. This is going to be fun. And joining me today is Harold Muliati. He's not only running the video switcher and mixer, but he's also co-hosting. We have a feeling Leslie may have had an outage or something going on in her area. They have extreme heat going on in London right now, or she's just outside of. So hopefully she's doing fine. She hasn't gotten a hold of us, so we'll see her next week. Shall we go?
Yes.
Here we go. And we are back in, there he is, in that center position of power, as we like to call it. It's Chris Van Wingerden. How you doing, Chris?
I'm just doing awesomely well. It's
now, you know,
a gorgeous summer day here in Eastern Ontario, and I'm not going to knock that.
No, and you guys are having good weather from what I heard. We have somebody who lives not far from you, who's one of our IDs, and she said the weather's been not bad. It was hot for a while, but it kind of broke a little bit. It's been pleasant.
Mm-hmm. We're not going to complain. 6 months of snow, we'll take anything.
Is it 6 months? Is that how long you get it?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's a lot of snow. Well, I grew up in New York. It wasn't 6 months, but we had quite a bit of snow. Anyway, well, you've been a busy guy. You've now become, now we have a nickname for you. Now, take this with love, because when we see you, and a lot of times on your show, the way you're sitting and standing, we have two theories. You're a secret agent is one. You have that secret agent kind of demeanor. What do you think, Harold? Secret agent?
I think that's a pretty good bet.
It's a good one. Yeah, you make a good thing. We keep saying it's Van Wingerden. It's 009 or something. but you come across, you're really a natural on camera. I love watching you on camera because you have a good voice and you have a good look. So I think it was Sarah, somebody said that you were one of the most gorgeous men in e-learning. So hey, take that for what it's worth. We will go with that. We like that when you're Mr. Gorgeous. That's good. Now, Chris, you do a great job on the show. We enjoy the show. I watch it almost every week. Whenever I have a chance, I watch or I'll catch up later on it. You guys are doing a great job. So congrats on that. The show, the podcast is called IDIOC, not spelled quite that way. What was it? Instructional Designers in Offices Drinking Coffee?
That's it, exactly.
I got it.
Nice work.
That's pretty good.
And there's the famous mug.
And the mug. Yep. Yeah, that was fun. You and Brent do a great job, and you've got good guests. I laugh sometimes because we all have the same guests. It's like, hey, I know her, or I know him. So it's fun. It's great to see people doing it, because podcasts, you're having fun, aren't you?
It is fun. Every week we've got something else to talk to somebody about. So, there's a little bit of learning on our side, too, because we're by no means experts in everything ourselves. And there's just, the cool people that we do get to meet. It's brilliant. It's a really cool thing to do. And I'm constantly surprised by how well received it's been, and how many people actually show up every week to join us, and the group that we've built as folks who are regular attendees. It's really cool.
That's good. No, that's a lot of fun. And you only have to watch out for one thing, which happened to me a little bit, and some other people I know that have been on the show, is that when you do a show, all of a sudden, now I understand why actors say they get typecast. People think you only do a show. And it's funny because I've had people say, well, we saw you on the show. What else do you do? Well, we work in the e-learning market. We've done IT work. You actually know something? Yeah, kind of. But it's funny. That's the impression, because they only see you on one thing, and then they go, "Oh, interesting." How long have you guys been doing the show?
So we started in March, a year and a half ago. So
it's been that long.
Yeah,
I must have missed the
up
first
to 70 episodes or so now.
Wow, that's
range.
Great. That's really good. I must have missed the first 6 months, because I found out about it this year. It's just weird. Sometimes I don't get the notices until way too late, and I forgot who told me. Maybe it was, I'm not sure. Somebody told me you had a show, and I went, oh, and I found it, and it was great. So that's fun. So Brent's doing a fun job with you on the shows and everything else. So hey, that's good. And we were talking pre-show.
I was just going to say it's a hoot because Brent and I are similar minded. We often have. I think just this past week even I went to say something, he said it, and it was like, oh, I was just going to say that. So it's kind of like sometimes we're like twin minds. But it's a lot of fun that way to have him, and the two hosting makes it a lot easier to carry out a conversation too. It's a really lot of fun. So.
I think I started the show originally with Terrence Wing. Well, originally I started by myself doing just audio podcasts, and they were okay, but it wasn't as much fun as being on the cameras and having people on and being able to show more things. But it is a lot of fun, and then when you have co-hosts, you can work against each other or off each other, and that makes it even more fun. Because, like I said, and then when you get to know what each of you are saying, then it becomes even more fun because now it's like we're an old married couple, and it's like we have the joke, one person burps and the other person says, "Excuse me." So,
nice.
Yeah, and it works.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, you're talking about people saying, "What else do you do?" Doing this is probably the first time that like my children have actually been able to understand what I actually do.
Funny.
Because
yeah,
how do you? I'm sure we all have this. Well, what do you do? Well, I'm an instructional designer. Well, what is that? And so a lot of the times my kids will just say, Dad just works with computers and
that's what mine did. Same thing. She'd see me all day long on a computer when I was working. Well, she didn't see when on weekends or whatever. I'm working from home sometimes, and she'll go. And we used to bring her to the office when she was little, and she would go. People would ask, "What does your dad do?" "He's on a computer all day long. I have no idea." And they go, "Well, what kind of business?" "Computer business." No idea. So it's sort of interesting. And you're right. They don't really know what you do. When you say instructional designer, they're looking for something where you're painting. You're not painting anything. So that's interesting. And of course, you are one of the top people at DominKnow. So that's another thing. You're very good at, and the business is doing really well from what we've been hearing. So what's new with DominKnow?
Well, this past spring, we rolled out what's easily the biggest update of our authoring platform probably since 2011 when we first rolled out the Claro portion. So 3-ish years in the making, this update, bringing together, we have the two different authoring options. Claro, which is sort of traditional e-learning, you can bring in a PowerPoint, come at it from that kind of a direction, and it makes content that's going to fit in a box. It's going to have a specific page set of dimensions. And we've also got our flow authoring option, which is true responsive. So very much like the modern web pages that you would go to see for products or different social sites, that sort of a thing. And they're two different ways of making content, but they're both in the same place now. And you just, you start something, decide which of the two ideas is best for what you need to do as a suitable way of putting things together, and go from there. And it's just been a tremendous spring in terms of the response to that.
That's great. And flow. What are people doing more of, flow or Claro?
Do you know, it's interesting. Definitely new client teams that are coming to us are very much in the flow/responsive mode, because they're seeing the world around them and the number of devices that people can have, and going, well, this is the thing that the rest of the internet is doing. To make sure that content can work everywhere, can be successfully, transformed if it needs to rotate from vertical to horizontal or those sorts of things. So flow is the thing that most of the new clientele, are embracing. Traditional, previous Claro teams, I think, are also, finding a lot of value in it, but maybe not yet quite necessarily getting there, because their infrastructure is suitable still for for a more traditional e-learning / kind of presentation kind of approach. So
things move slowly in this industry. They talk about it, but nobody adopts quickly. Companies are a little slow, but when they go, they go. So
it's always interesting to see that curve of adoption and how things happen. I mean, it's not just an authoring tool like us, even XAPI, which has been around for so many years now, but is still something that a lot of teams are only just starting to look at, etc. And yet it has so much potential power and benefit as a way of tracking data. We are Until you hit a problem, really, there's no need to change for us.
Right.
You know, we are big ships turn slowly, that kind of a thing. But once the problem comes and you say, oh, we have to do something differently, then boom, the shift happens.
Well,
right
I always
away.
giggle when, what are you deploying? SCORM 1.2.
Now,
Or 2004. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
only 15 years off, but it's okay.
now our
And go ahead,
our-
Harold.
sorry, are Domino's clients mainly North America, or where are a lot of your clients? Do you do North America, Europe, Asia?
Yeah, so we're a Canadian company, but the vast majority of our clients are actually outside of Canada. The U.S. has been for a long time our main area of where our client bases are. We do have Europe and the U.K. as well, would probably be the second area. But interestingly enough, too, in some ways you might look at it as from a different perspective, because we're a web-based tool. And we have a lot of client teams that are very large. So, a client team might have people in the UK, the Asia Pacific, teams in India making, and literally somebody could be working, based on time zones around the clock from that team. We have client teams as large as like 300 authoring, participants making stuff around the world for some of our client teams.
That's pretty cool. Those are big teams. So they can work collaboratively too?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Nice.
Collaboratively, and even just moving content through. One client team will make something maybe originating in for the UK market, and then the American team will pick it up, localize it with maybe different regulations, and at the same time, the Korean team, the Japanese market team is doing something. Because in this case, all the markets have slightly different regulations around what a product could do or be allowed to be spoken of, that sort of a thing. So not just collaboration, but also like real-time collaboration is totally possible and does happen too, but also that ability of moving a project through different, for different markets with minimal friction, starting in one place and then moving it forward to other places.
That's nice. That's really good. Now, Harold said that you were going to do a little screen sharing. You wanted to show some stuff.
Yeah, I was going to just give a little sneak peek of some of the things that we've done in Domino 1. So let me just do a couple of things. The multi-screen world that we live in, and that means everything's got to move around, right?
Yes.
Cool. So let me go down to here, share that.
There we go. Can see it.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, so I just before our time together, I did log in, and so that's what we're seeing here now is we call it the splash page. It's sort of the starting point.
And I like
we
the
do
new
have
look. You changed the look a bit. It looks more like a Mac with dark mode. I like that.
There's an awful lot of Mac users in our office team and our dev team, etc. So there's often an influence from that regard.
Nice,
for sure.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's a good one because people are going blind looking at bright screens, and eventually they will. I mean, it's damaging, and this is the way it used to be from the beginning, and it's looking great.
Yeah, it's funny, how we've gone from the original of white text on the little white circles making words on black through to now we've got full color, and we can't resist that sometimes either.
I know. Yeah, this looks good.
So if I was, if I just came in and I had other content team members with me, I would actually see their avatars in here, so I know who else is working at the same time. We have a really great review process, so I can bring in my SMEs or stakeholders at any time. They can give me feedback, so I can see some of the latest comments that I've had for projects, etc. So, and one of the big things that happened for us as part of making Flow come together initially was a recognition on our side that we have a tool that people can use to make things that are go way beyond necessarily what we would call an e-learning course. So when you're working in our tool, you're making a project, and it might be that you're going to use it as a course, but maybe it's actually a project like a searchable knowledge base that you're going to make, or maybe a one-page infographic to help people with a particular problem that might get posted up as more of a job aid than necessarily a SCORM package in an LMS. So you're going to make a new project in our tool. And then we ask you, what is it that you want to make? So you could choose right off the Claro sort of traditionally learning authoring option, the Flow responsive. We can bring in PowerPoints, and we help you make those into a Claro project. And we also have the idea of baseline. So you could make something more or less like a project template and start from there. So that helps people get started faster from an organization perspective. And then when you are picking one of the options, you also have a lot of different navigation options. So if you want something that is a sort of a modern update of an e-learning project, that's brilliant. Or maybe you want something that's more suitable for, say, a knowledge base, a searchable front end, a more of a chapter and topic based approach to things. So different navigation options that give you different ways of having the user actually use the content later on. And then from there, part of what we introduced this past spring to was a lot of really nice sets of design templates, etc., to get people going, at least initially. We find most client teams end up wanting to do their own stuff, match their own branding, that kind of a thing. That's pretty typical. But getting started with stuff is pretty easy. Just show a few of those.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, and now so I just said, clicked on the use this template, and now it's building me the starting page for my project. So it is a web-based tool, so folks log in to do all their work, and that's why I'm doing all of this in the browser right now. And one of the benefits is if everything, if my internet decided to fold up the tent right now, anything that I've done is automatically saved, so I never have to worry about saving anything as we go along at all. So.
Are you using something like Amazon Web Services or Azure as your backend?
Do you know what? I would have to double check. I don't get involved with the conversations about the backend and the hosting and stuff very often, actually.
Because it's pretty fast.
Yeah, from my perspective, I log in and it works.
Yeah, and it runs fast. I'm watching as you're doing things. Things are pretty quick, which is nice. You don't feel like you're on the web.
Well, and I would suggest that what we were just watching was actually a little slower than typical, probably because we're doing the webcast too right now. So I'm using a lot of bandwidth for the the webcast aspect of what we're doing. So it's still loading up pretty well there. Yeah. So when you're working in Flow, the idea with responsive design is that you can have content change and adjust for different screen widths. So as you're authoring, you can actually just readjust the stage to see how it's going to look at different sizes. Now, this is a pretty simple sort of template page, so the changes aren't super dramatic, but literally, pixel by pixel as we work on the page, we can see the changes happening. So it doesn't matter in the case of the Flow content. It doesn't matter what screen size you're going to open the content on, or even what screens the future world brings to us. You're working in an approach that's really very future-proof from that regard. So,
one thing I noticed here is that Flows to have the interface of it is a lot more of a traditional authoring tool style interface, whereas a lot of the other web-based tools have things that are maybe more similar to web-based web design tools.
Sure. Yeah. So back in 2011, when we were first putting together Claro, which was at the time the 6th generation already of our tool, we've had the origins of this tool go back to 2002 actually. But at that time we did license the ribbon technology from Microsoft because we felt that it was a sensible thing because it's just such a common thing. Everybody in our industry uses PowerPoint and Word, so giving them something that they can transition into very easily, at least with a familiarity from that perspective. And we've stuck with that.
And that makes sense.
Yeah, plus familiarity even for teams that are coming from other desktop e-learning authoring tools. It's not too dramatic a change to figure out where the things are. So. I mean, all kinds of things that we can do. Really cool, powerful things like our translation workflows, which help you, for multilingual teams, translate content very quickly and easily without having to remake things from scratch. Previewing things at any time. Actually, this is kind of cool. We have one of the previews, if you're working in Flow, is what we call our compare preview. So as you're building something, you can actually be previewing it and seeing it on more or less 2 different screen sizes at the same time.
Huh.
Oh.
So maybe let's set the right-hand side for an iPhone 6 Plus, and maybe the left side, there's a 7-inch tablet. And if these are longer pages, as we scroll, they actually scroll synchronously, and so we can see how the pages are going to be different for people on different sizes of screens.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really neat, very helpful, because even though you're authoring and you're able to change the stage as you're working, there's always going to be some small differences between what you've made and then the final outputs. That preview really makes our lives easier for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the other things we've done that's different than a lot of the other content tools too, and I was talking about XAPI earlier. We're very strong proponents of XAPI. And so when you're making something in either our Claro or our Flow authoring modes, everything you're doing is already pre-set up. Let me back up. Everything that you're doing that a learner is going to interact with is already pre-set up to send XAPI statements. So that could be things like just even pushing the forward button, or it might be clicking on a button or playing a video on a page. Any of those things that a learner might do is already preset to send an XAPI statement. So you don't have to go in and add your own JavaScript. You don't have to go and do any coding. You don't have to do anything out of the ordinary. So from that level, that perspective, it's no different than the level of effort you put in to make a SCORM package. It's literally the same things, are being tracked in that way.
Yeah.
And then what we did was, when you go to publish, you can choose as part of that. I'm just taking a couple of clicks to get here. You can choose what kinds of statements you actually want to send. So we're prepared to help you send statements about everything, but that's in the world of big data, you don't necessarily want everything. So you can choose the types of things that you want to send statements about. So that might be just statements about media things. You do want to include whether someone's played or paused, etc., video or audio files, and the things that they've been working with, showing and hiding on a page. But maybe you really don't care what people are searching for in the content, or what they're if they open the menu or not. So you sort of winnow down then what it is that you actually want to capture over in your LRS by having XAPI statements sent to it. But you don't have to do any setup. There's no code or anything involved. Plus, we also can help you create XAPI statements of your own using a template kind of an approach too.
Are you finding that more people are starting to use XAPI rather than just the vendors supporting it, but not a lot of implementation yet?
Yes, well, like I was saying earlier, if you have it's when teams have a problem that they need to solve. So something that they want to report on that their LMS doesn't necessarily capture as part of the normal SCORM. Or where the real power of XAPI comes in is outside of your LMS. So our own knowledge base user guides for the tool we created in our own tools, and we can track then how people are using it. We can use XAPI to know the pages that people are most commonly going to, and therefore for us we could actually revisit the tool and say, look, everybody seems to be going to look, or a lot of people seem to be looking for this information. Maybe there's something we need to do better in the tool as an interface, to help people understand it better, so they're not always looking for help for that or something. So that's
a nice side effect of having that.
Yeah, we very much are in the category of I think the clumsy phrase is eating our own dog food. But everything that we do to support the tool sets that we offer is made in our own tool sets from that perspective. So this is over here on the right side. So if you wanted to create your own custom XAPI statement, you don't have to use any code. You just simply work through the form here, basically, and then click apply.
That's great.
And that statement would get sent then when a learner did whatever it was that they were looking to do. So, yeah. The fact that we do use our own tools to support our own learning process and learning experience for our client teams actually has led us now to develop an additional product that we'll be rolling out in the fall. We call it CLAROFY. It's basically a community or a learning experience portal. So here's the front end of it here. People can come in and see the latest articles or posts that people have put up. And if I take us to the Discover tab here, things can range from well, we actually post all of our idiotics up here as a back catalog for people. But articles, how-tos, I'll just actually go to this one here. So, and the articles are rather like making like a blog post in WordPress. There's not a lot of complexity involved to contributing to this. And you can also then embed, we have a software lesson tool that we call Capture, that's part of the Domino 1, but also works here as well. So if you want to actually give people explicit steps on something, then you can create the Capture lessons as part of your CLAROFY catalog, and then they're fully searchable as well. So a lot of different ways for people to, within their own organization, create content that isn't necessarily formal training. But content that helps people solve specific problems, as more along the lines of job aids and performance support. Very searchable, etc. Metadata all over the place that you can add to make it even more searchable. So,
I like the name you chose for it. It's a good one, CLAROFY.
Well, I've been using it as a bad pun on the Claro authoring option for a long time internally, in emails and such, and then the team kind of sarcastically picked up on that and said, and moved it into to be a real thing. So
that's a great name. I love it.
We are, if nothing else, really fond of bad puns around here. Wow, cool.
Yeah, I was giggling when you said you had localization features too. Between America and Canada, we don't speak quite the same language, so many people think. We actually do, but people are funny. Yeah,
we have. I'll be in a conference call with people, and at some point it will. Are you in Canada? And I'll either will have used a, which I do actually end up using, or I'll have used a word. I'll pronounce process instead of process.
Project. Right? Yeah, the little differences.
Yeah. Not to mention, we tend to flatten pasta rather than pasta.
Well, I was in pasta. Yeah, I was in London for Learning Technologies in February, and I loved. That was really the first time I've ever been in London, so I was just having a blast. I loved London, and the people were just so damn cool. And of course, I love Canada too. I've been to Canada many, many times, and there's been a while now since we've been there. We've got to get back. It's just a lovely place, and people are friendly.
Well, let us know when you're coming. We'll make sure we find a spot for you to have a great dinner.
Oh, that sounds great. I appreciate that, because we haven't been to Toronto in ages. It's been 34 years since we've been in Toronto. A long time.
Wow.
So I'd love to go back. We went to Toronto, Montreal. We missed Quebec because we were on a tour, technically. It's sort of a self-paced tour, but they kept blowing every reservation we had, so we never made it to Quebec. We just said we'll stay a couple of extra days in Montreal. And it was nice. We had a good time. And Toronto was cool. We went right during Christmas, so snow everywhere. It was really pretty.
Yeah.
Chris, can you put your face on? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah. I haven't used Skype in a while, so I had to find where the button was.
Yeah. Are you on a PC or Mac?
I'm on a Mac.
You're on a Mac.
Even if you do use Skype a lot, they keep changing stuff. And there's also, I think, currently 3 different versions of Skype going around. They have Skype for desktop.
Oh, gosh.
They have the Skype app. They have the Skype for mobile.
And they work half the time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we about a year ago switched from Skype to using Teams as part of the Microsoft Office, and that does seem to be a much more reliable approach than
we
were
looking at Teams recently.
Experience.
I think we may go that way too. Microsoft's offering some nice stuff now in the 365. You even get SharePoint now, which is cool. So.
Yeah, we've begun using Planner too, which is sort of a like a Trello board kind of thing.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't tried that one yet. We're using Basecamp over here. It's okay. For what we're doing, it's good. Most of the projects don't last months and months and months. They tend to be shorter. but even when we have the longer ones, it's easy to manage. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing some great stuff over there. Looks fun.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun for sure. The rollout, as I said, of Domino 1, which is sort of the new edition name of what we offer overall, has been really well received. We're
like
ramping up to roll that CLAROFY project out this fall. It's got the last couple of finishing touches to go, and we'll start putting that in clients' hands too.
That's great. Well, we wish you all the best of success and luck with, no luck doesn't exist. It's just success, hard work and success with Domino. And also we hope you guys keep going with the IDIOC podcast, because it's great. It's a lot of fun. I said you guys are doing a great job. And like I said, you are probably the most gorgeous man in eLearning. And
are you seeing this crooked nose? Anyway, no, we're having a lot of fun. We're taking August off with IDIOC. It's vacation time for us, but we're gearing up for season 3 starting in the first week of September.
Cool. That's what we're doing. We take a couple of weeks off in August usually, though this time we had a couple of different shows that we do where we're actually still going on, because we got some authors, I mean, not authors, but writers, actually real, like New York Times bestselling authors. And they were available during our break, so we just came on for them. It's so hard to get these guys that if you can, great.
Sure.
And this guy is a guy named Richard Phillips, who is ex-military Air Force colonel, I think, a nuclear scientist, and he writes some really cool science fiction. So he's fun. I like the guy a lot. One of my favorite authors. So he was willing to come on. So I went, yes. So we had a guy recently on this is on a different show called Life Edge. And you ever heard of Mark Cameron? He writes, well, he's doing now, he was one of the 5 guys, I think, that were selected to continue the Tom Clancy books. So he's written I think he's written 3 of them already. And
the Jack Ryan
the Jack
series.
Ryan stuff. So they kind of acquire the same personality of Clancy and just go with it. And they're fun. But he also writes his own books, a lot of series, and they're really fun. He's an ex-U.S. Marshal who's been around the world and knows what happens out there. So he has lots of different people in his novels. We had him on. He was a great guy, real fun guy to talk to, and just a nice person. But anyway, It's fun. Yeah, I hope you guys keep going and keep having a good time with it. You and Brent are great together, and the guests are good. So
thank you.
And it looks like you have a really nice tool with some pretty nice features. A lot of
thank you.
little time-saving things. I like that translation thing.
For those companies that need to do the translation work, it sure saves them a lot of time and bother. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, hey, Chris, are you going to be at DevLearn?
I will be at DevLearn. Have at least one sort of speaking thing to do there. Plus, we'll be doing an IDIOC live meetup. That's something we've been doing is starting with first with Learning Solutions, I think. Maybe even DevLearn last year, but a chance to do IDIOC live. We did it from ATD this year too, and just actually meet some people face to face instead of the virtual world.
It's fun.
A lot of fun.
It's actually a lot of fun. One of the most fun things is, as you're doing the show, how many people know you that you have no idea who they are. Have you had that happen yet? They go, "Hey, Chris, I love your show." You go, "Huh? What?"
I've had that. I've had the experience too at ATD. Someone came up, and thankfully, in the tool that we use, she had actually used a real photo as her own avatar. So she was a very regular, attendee, and I recognized her, and I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool! You really exist."
It's a lot of fun. We did an e-learning course once. It was for fire safety in the workplace and home. It was for both. And I was one of the characters in the thing. I was Chief Red Embers, retired. It said I was supposed to be a fire chief, and then we also I did the cartoon voices on some of them too. We had like talking fire extinguishers, but I showed up at Southern California Edison where we did that at a different office for a different video we were doing, and we get there and the lady comes up and goes, "Oh my God, you're Red Embers." Yes, I am. So I went into character. I said, "Yes, I am. How can I help you? You know, it's just, and she goes, wait, Stephanie, we've got red embers here. It's like, and I was going, I can't believe people remember that. And you know, sometimes it's like, wow, that was amazing. Somebody actually remembered a character in an e-learning piece. I guess we did it right. I don't know, but it was fun to have that happen. I was going, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, occasionally it is nice for people to actually remember things that
To
you're
remember
trying to
something
teach
you've
them,
done,
right?
yeah. So that they actually, so hopefully they remembered some of what we were teaching. That's the key. But so those are interesting. But Chris, I'll see you at DevLearn then. We're going to be down there too.
Very sure.
I'll make it a point to find your booth, and you're going to have a booth, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Domino team will be there for sure.
Okay, cool. I'll make it a point to catch up with you sometime there, and maybe we can have lunch, dinner, breakfast, something together. It'll be fun.
Awesome.
All right, good. Well, thank you for coming on as always, and much continued success in all that you guys are doing, and have a great August off. Enjoy the break. So you guys are back. Are you done? Was that the last show yesterday?
Yep. Yesterday was the last show for the summer. Back again the very first week of September, which I think is the 5th. But honestly, I'm not looking that far ahead in the calendar yet.
Just enjoy August, right?
Exactly. It's time for some vacation time. So.
Yep. Well, have a great one then, and we'll see you
Awesome.
back on the show in September, and we'll see you at DevLearn in October. Looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for having me on, guys. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Again, we'll see you all next week, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
So long, guys.
Bye. And we are